位光临我们今天3月25号在台南2中的办理的场次。那我们提醒大家，就是我们接下来场次是由国立台南女子高级中学的吴佳霖老师，以及高雄市立左营高级中学的陈筱婷老师共同发表。那在老师发表之前，我们身为司仪有一件事情要跟各位老师宣布一下，麻烦各位老师配合和注意，谢谢您。那首先是一件我们关于手册的刊物，麻烦您翻开我们手册的第148页和230页，就是在您的黄色夹层的后面。在我们这边的话，我们的夹层那边很不好意思的是，我们这边工作人员半夜真的很辛苦，手册是半夜做的，所以麻烦各位见谅。但是我们台南2中的校长应该是放在台南2中的场次，那结果他跑到中区去了。那另外的话，我们这边要很感谢我们这边台南2中的陈筱婷老师，他也是我们参与我们去年海外研习的老师，大力协助帮忙，邀请我们台南市政府的市长来参与。那很可惜的是，我们台南市的市长赖清德赖市长的话，那他现在目前人在国外。本来我们得知说今天早上会有市政府派代表过来，所以稍微延误了一下开场。那后来真是很可惜，我们市政府的代表没有出现，所以我们就直接开场。那这边再跟大家说一下抱歉，所以我们这边的148页的这个人，那应该是我们台南2中的校长会出现在我们230页的台南2中的这边场次。然后再来的话，就是我们现场的手册，是因为我们教育部中教司是非常的鼓励老师能够有海外研习出国的经验，然后寄收回来推广给大家。那由于说我们真的是经费很有限，那只能说遴选就是很有限的老师出国，然后加上我们参与研讨会的老师很多，因为时间的关系没有办法出席，所以我们这边承办单位印制了相当多的手册。那非常欢迎老师踊跃索取，你们都可以帮你们同事和学生，只要有兴趣的都可以索取。我们这边现场准备的非常的多，如果说你们可以直接把他们拿光的话，我们会非常的高兴。那教育部也是非常的高兴。那我们真的是非常的希望能够推广这个英语教学的这个东西，而且我们手册真的做得非常的用心。我们发表老师，如果各位刚刚有注意到的话，我们现场做的 presenter 的 PowerPoint 跟我们手册版本是完全不一样的，因为我们特别请所有的老师做2个版本。手册版是简易的版本，为了节省成本，依守环保。那我们这边的话，我们播放的方式是比较漂亮、精美和完整的版本。所以各位老师，真的我们是手册真的是做得很认真，发表是非常的认真。所以如果你们可以真的好好的回去看它的话，我们会非常的感谢。然后再来的话，就是我们现场有很多参与的学生，就是我们这边现场的话，只要是有在网络全国像是在职信授资讯有报名的老师，我们都会以电子核发研习时数6个小时。只要您是学生，没有办法用全国在职网报名的话，我们这边现场都会准备我们现场的研习证明，欢迎您索取。再来的话，再次我们真的要很大力谢谢我们的陈筱婷老师，就是提供我们这个会场，我们会场外面所有的点心、便当、桌巾，所有的一切。因为我们这边真的是外地来，真的是很感谢陈筱婷老师跟我们这边所有的校务人员热情的协助。他们已经准备了1个多月，没有他们，我们沟通协调了非常的久。那如果没有他们的话，真的就没有今天的会场。请这位老师给陈筱婷老师热烈的掌声。然后再来的话，真的最后要再提醒老师，不好意思的就是我们会场内手机请关机或者是调震动，然后呢禁止饮食。所以刚刚会场的点心据说很好吃，也是很抱歉各位现在不能享用。那我们待会中午还有准备好吃的便当，只是也不在这个会场内，会在红套大楼的用餐区。我们等一下外面的2位公主生会跟着就是引领所有的大家一起到用餐区的这边用餐，然后下午的场次会再开始。那抱歉耽误大家这么久的时间，请各位大家大声的热烈欢迎我们的吴佳霖老师和陈筱婷老师发表，谢谢。
Headline for today: March 25th marked a monumental day when high school teachers assembled to a rare workshop in National Thailand Second Senior High School to witness the triumph of a visiting secondary school teacher from Canada, Helen Erickson. Also attending the workshop are Professor Chen from NTNU, and program assistant Caroline Hong, and the teachers that come to share their action plans. and the workshop has just opened, and the teachers are releasing the lecture from Ms. Erickson. And the talk from Ms. Erickson appear to be well received and widely appreciated. Our correspondent, Carol Wu, has the story. Carol?
Hi. Okay, thank you, Joyce. I'm presently at the workshop of Tainan Second Senior High School, and it's really thrilling to see so many high school teachers gathered together to spend their beautiful Sunday and work for better English teaching in Taiwan. And look at this crowd. Their eyes sparkle with this hunger to learn and determination to make a difference. And also we have our program director, Professor Chen here, who looks really happy. Aren't you happy, Professor? She is very happy, and she has every reason to be so. After all, her assistant Caroline and her have made everything possible. And also we have Miss Helen Erickson, okay, who traveled across the Pacific Ocean to join us. And it is such an honor. I can hardly believe it. And believe it, I can hardly breathe. And to take advantage of this rare opportunity, I would like to interview a couple of teachers present for why they come here. Hello? Hi. Would you tell me what brought you here?
Oh, because I went to the interview for the overseas workshop, but I didn't pass it that last year. So this year I'm going to try it again.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's great to see your beautiful smile. Yeah. Okay, so could I have another person telling me their expectation towards today? All right, hi. Hi. What is your expectation for today?
Meet some good English teachers and learn something more, and something more professional for me to do more perfect teaching.
Wow, that's so inspirational. Let's give that a big hand. Yes. All right. Due to time constraint, I'm afraid I can only interview 2 people. All right, did I hear signs of relief? Okay. So I heard that the next presentation was started in seconds. So I have to direct your attention back to Joyce.
Thank you, Carol. What a wonderful workshop. I wish I were there. Okay, since the teachers are eager to move on, let's just spend our next hour on the section co-presented by Joyce Chen and Carol Wu. Good morning, everyone. I'm Joyce Chen, and she's my partner, Carol Wu. And before I start my presentation, I would like to thank all of you, for being here. You know, it's Sunday morning. With such a fine weather, especially we are in Tainan, a lovely city famous for the delicacies and for some historical attractions. We should just go outside, tour around, and have some douhua or xiajian or something. But you are here to show your passion for English teaching, to show your concern for English teaching, and most important, your support for English teaching. Thanks for being here. Hopefully, in the end of the day, when you walk out here, that you get some ideas and some practical strategies that you can use in your classroom. At least knowing that you are not the only struggling and drawing English teacher in Taiwan. Okay, so back to today's topic. Today, Carol and I, we are going to share an action plan that we respectively conducted in our classroom last semester. It is called News Circle. It is an activity to promote extensive reading. So, okay, so yep. Where is this? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk. Okay. Technology. So let's talk about our motivation. So after teaching for a few years, then we got some problems in our classroom. The first one is students feel bored with most chosen reading materials. Okay, I have one question for you. How many of you here have ever heard your students say that, I love my textbook. I enjoy reading my textbook. Seriously, raise your hand if your students have ever shared this excitement with you. Please raise your hand. No? And as the never give up teacher, you offer them another choice, the magazine. Like ABC, Studio Classroom, or maybe English for You. Then you say to them, an article a day and a quiz per week keep your students away. Then boring, really become boring again. So it comes to me that why, since students keep complaining the chosen material, why not have them to choose their favorite one? Then they can stop complaining. So that's the first motivation. And the second one is students become less and less concerned about current events. A few years ago when I was teaching the word agreement, I took ECFA, for example. I explained to my students that A is the abbreviation of agreement. Then suddenly a boy just raised his hand and popped out the question, "Excuse me, Miss Chen, Joyce, what is ECFA? Is that a music band or something edible?" It's amazing, right? And the other day when I mentioned Maurice Zhang Zhongmo, the founder of Taiji, it seems that my students have no idea who he is. So at that time I realized that our students are disconnected to the world. They live in their own island. So less concerned about current events. And the third one is fearful of reading authentic news. Then, when it comes to reading English news, students always have the fixed images. There are too many big words, too many terms. In general, they are too difficult. But the truth is that news is something happening in our daily life. And by reading daily information, we know English as a language, how it is used in our daily life. So that's why we choose news as our reading material. And with these questions and problems, last summer we attend the program. We went to Canada and attended a 5-week program in SFU. There we met many wonderful and devoted teachers. We got many ideas, many practical strategies that we can use in our classroom. For example, in Sheila Romsley's class, she put an emphasis on creating a friendly community in the classroom. She says that students can only learn and learn well when they feel confident and comfortable. And the second thing she mentions that about she helped us to review the spirit and the strategies of literature circle. I know some of you are quite familiar with this strategy. And this one. And in Don's class, he helped us he brought up the idea of cooperative learning. Don gave us a lot of tasks, such as community visits or people search, which can only be completed by working with other team members. When we work with other team members, we learn from each other, and we also help each other to learn. And Don also mentioned about Gardner's multiple intelligence. He tells us that each student has different talents. As long as a teacher, you give him or her the chance to bring it out. So that's the motivation. That's the motivation why we came up with the idea of our X1 news circle. So next one. Right? Okay, so I know many of you have already heard about literature circle, and some of you may have practiced it in your classroom. So basically, news circle is something adapted from literature circle. So here are the procedures. You have pre-action assessment, questionnaire, instruction, grouping, role assignments, weekly oral presentation. We have our students present one piece of news each week. Then in the middle of the semester, we have news arts card, and we release a piece of newspaper. Then in the middle of the term, we evaluate our students to check how they are doing and to give some feedback. And again, weekly oral presentation is also again, and in the end of the semester, we have post-action assessment and the questionnaire again as a wrap-up. So next one. So let's talk about the pre-action assessment and questionnaire first. Carol, would you please help me with the questionnaire? In the first class, I give my students the questionnaire. So this is the assessment. I need the questionnaire. Yeah, that's okay. To help students to know how they feel about this piece, and also help students know where our students are. So, yes. For example, we have questions like, I like reading English news, I feel confident reading English news, something like that. Students check the numbers about how they feel about news piece. Maybe some students, they disagree about, I actually don't like reading English news, so maybe they just check number 1, or maybe some will check number 5. That's pretty much, and we collect the questionnaire to know how your students are. And then after the questionnaire, so next one, we have a pre-action assessment. As a teacher, I chose a piece of news and give each copy to each student without any instruction. I asked my students to do whatever I told them. So, for example, I asked my students to pick up 5 words. I give students a few minutes to read the news. Then I ask them to pick 5 words and just write down. For example, please find 5 keywords in the news clip. So they have to write down 5 words, they think, which are very important. And then I asked them to write a short summary of this news clip. I didn't give them any instructions, just ask them to do that and give them a few minutes. And then one factual correction based on the clip and one open-ended correction. And in the end, I want them to write some reflections, maybe within 50 words, not too many, just 50 words. And if I still have time, I would like them to just draw a simple illustration, just how they feel about the news, something like that. And then, as a teacher, without any instruction, the classroom is a chaos. Students want to raise their hand and say, what is the factual correction? What is open-ended question? I say, no more questions. Just do whatever I say. Because I want to know how they feel about, from the very beginning, how do they feel about this activity? So, I mean, what kind of level are they? If they are in the first level, then I should start from the second level. But if they are in the basement, then I should just build some, foundation. So, this is the pre-assessment part. And the next one. Yeah, and then here are the 5 rows. News circle is adapted from literature circle. So we also have 5 rows which are similar to the rows in literature circle. We have the anchor who is in charge of summarizing the news, and the anchor also has to report it on the stage every week. And then we have the editor who has to find out 5 keywords in the news piece. Then the reader, he or she has to pose 1 factual and 1 open-ended question. The philosopher who gives the feedback to the news. And the last one, the illustrator who illustrates the news, illustrates the news on a small poster. Yeah, that's basically the structure of our news circle. So far so good? Okay, so, Carol. So I'm going to, okay, one more thing about the news resource. Since students kept complaining about the chosen material, so each group, they have to collect a piece of news to be reading material for the whole classroom. So would you please check time? Okay, so in the beginning of the semester, we give each student an agenda. So each group knows when is their due date to hand in the newspaper. For example, the due date for Group 1, because on September 21st, we are going to use the news provided by Group 1. So Group 1 has to provide to hand in their newspaper on September 14th. That's their due date. Because then the other classmates, they have time to do the preparations at home. So they have to turn in their news in advance 1 week before. Did you get the idea? Okay, so, and Carol. They can choose the news from websites, TV channels, or newspapers, anything they want.
All right, and I'll take over the next of the introduction to our news circle. And afterwards, all right, we have grouping job to do. All right, ideally, we have 5 students in a group. All right, and in my case, I have like 42 students. So some of my groups have 6. But that doesn't really matter. All right, why is it ideally? Why it is ideal is that because there are 5 roles. All right, so on a weekly basis, the students take up each different roles. Okay, do oral presentation. Yes, and each group should do some oral presentation based on the agenda we gave them in the beginning of the term. And also, those students are required not to repeat their roles, all right, in two weeks or 3 weeks in a row. All right, I would specifically tell them what they should do every week. So I have given them this weekly role assignment chart. All right, it is at the bottom of this handout. Yes, all right, on this chart, they can clearly see that on the left-hand side, I have report 1, report 2, report 3. All right, in my case, report 1 should be September the 14th, if I remember right. All right, so on September 14th, all right, no, let me put it this way. All right, when I'm grouping, I already told them that you should adopt the number. For example, you have 5 people in a group, and I am number 1, Joyce is number 2, Jane is number 3, and so on. So for report 1, number 1 student of your group should be the anchor, and number 2 student of your group should be the philosopher, so on and so forth. And then when we go to report 2, okay, the number 1 student has changed her job into illustrator, while number 2 student changed her job into an editor. All right, and it was specifically designed that the students don't take over 2 jobs, all right, repeatedly in 2 weeks in a row. And there is even distribution of their jobs assignments so that basically all the students had equal chance to take over all the 5 jobs in a semester. Yes. Okay, next one. All right, and then we move on to in-class presentation. In my class, I use Wednesday because I think it's more convenient for me. Okay, so if you have different course schedule, you can adjust it according to yours. All right, and I won't go into that same timetable again because I already showed it many times. All right, so every Wednesday in my class, we have arranged for this 20 to 25 minutes presentation. And my way is that whenever the presentation starts, I would say, okay, today we have anchors from group 1 and group 8. And they were like, oh, me! And they have to come up. All right, and I say, today we have philosophers from group 2 and group 4. All right, and they have to come up. So everybody was like so nervous before this presentation because they know they have the equal chance to be called on. Okay, so they have to prepare anyway. All right, and then I have some little rules. For example, for the illustrator, all right, their job is to draw, but if they simply just doodle on their textbook, they have to present their poster, their drawing, to the class, and I will post it on the classroom wall for a week. And also for the reader, that means the questioner, all right, if you remember, she has to provide like 1 factual question and 1 open-ended question. All right, she cannot just blubber her question on the podium and then walk down. She has to have her answers, her questions answered before she can step down. All right, so in the end, I discovered that many readers, many questioners will arrange her classmates to answer her questions, but I could not do anything about that. Yeah, all right, please go on next. All right, and then we have some very fun activity called News Oscar 1 and News Oscar 2. All right, and News Oscar 1 takes place at the middle of the term, and News Oscar 2 takes place in the end of the term. That means 2 times per semester. All right, and as you remember, there are 5 persons in a group. All right, so 1 or 2 members in a group should be the anchor. All right, and their job is to report news, the piece of news, just like what Joyce just did in the beginning. Okay, and this news could be some news that they've read earlier in that semester, or some totally new news that they want to show to their classmates. Okay, and what about other group members? The other group members have the job to make this piece of news more lively. That is, they are the news crew. All right, so in helping their anchor, they can have other ways. For example, they can create props. They can do SNGs, they can do live reports, interviews, and other things. All right, as long as this piece of news is interesting. Okay. Yep. All right, and I forgot something in the News Oscar. Yeah. All right. So in the very end of our presentation, I had some awarding ceremony. I would have the students vote for their favorite anchors and favorite teamwork, and I gave them a little present on my behalf. Okay, and then News River Release 1 and 2, it comes along with News Oscar. They also take place on middle and the end of the term. All right, and in this case, the students, each group should create a share of newspaper. All right, and they can choose from these items. All right, they can do like very serious ones like international news, previously reported news, or they can go on fun ways like comic strips, puzzles and games, or recipes. Okay, my only requirement is not 2 students in one group should do the same job. Okay, so there can't be 2 persons doing advertisements at the same time. But later I discovered that there are so many easy way outs, like puzzles are easy, comic strips are easy. So if I were to do this activity ever again, maybe I should cut back on those easier ones and increase more difficult jobs. Okay, and I don't want my students to do too much work or too little work. So I would just ask them to put all their material, everything, down to a double-sided A3 paper. Yep. Okay, and there is also one thing that we did, it is midterm evaluation. In the middle of the term, we gave them this evaluation sheet so as to encourage them to reflect on their learning and to tell the teachers what they need. Alright, so evaluation sheet looks like this. It is very easy. We have questions like, how do you like this activity so far? And how do you think of the difficulty level? Do you think it is too hard? It is too easy? Or what do you want to change in this activity? Alright, what suggestions do you have? Or others like, alright, so in the 5 roles, what do you like best? What don't you like? Alright, and do you think this process help you? Alright, and if you want to give yourself a mark, a grade from 1 to 10, which point would you give yourself? Okay, I asked them questions like this. Alright. Yep. Alright, and then we move on to the very end of the semester. We have yet another set of assessments and questionnaire. Alright, it looks very similar to what Joyce introduced, what we gave the students in the beginning of the school term. Maybe we should start with post-action assessment sheet? Yes, it looks exactly the same, except that the news piece is changed. Of course it got to be changed. Okay, and I still ask them to do the 5 jobs one last time so as to feel how it is to do them so that they can more accurately answer the questions on our post-action questionnaire. Okay, and post-action questionnaire looks very familiar, right? Okay, it's just an extended version. Alright, in this questionnaire we added 4 more questions. It says, I think this semester's activity helps my English reading, English writing, English listening, English speaking. Alright, 4 more questions are added. And then to the very bottom, we have 2 open questions. We ask them about their favorite roles and also their comments and reflections in this semester's work. Yeah. Let's see. Alright, so now we will move on to the result part. Actually, Joyce and I, even though we're following the same guidelines, we have to constantly change, adjust our ways to meet our students' needs. Okay, so in the following part, I will start with mine, and then Joyce will go on with hers later on. Alright, firstly, new circle in my school, I would like to first present to you the comparison between pre-action questionnaire and post-action questionnaire. Alright, this is a little bit complicated. I will explain more later. Alright, so literally, I compared the percentage of students choosing Scale 4 and Scale 5 combined in pre-action, and the percentage of students choosing Scale 4 and 5 combined in post-action. So here is an example. Supposedly the students are confronted with this statement, I like reading English news, and they are free to choose the ranking from 1 to 5. Okay, and in pre-action, 7.14 of my students choose rank 1, and 9.52% of my students choose Scale 5. Alright, so Scale 4 and 5 combined, that makes them 23.81%. Okay, so in post-action, we're presented with the same statement. My students have ranking 4 and 5, they have 38.09% combined. So what I did is I looked at the increase or decrease between the two, so I make a comparison. Is it clear? Yeah, and here is a little bit reminder. That is, even though I've been to graduate school, and I know that this research method is totally amateur, and I know that this is very unprofessional. We didn't do some control group. We didn't do some data analysis. We didn't go over some SPSS software. But so this is something we need to beg your pardon for. That is not very accurate. This is just some tendency that we saw from our data. Okay. All right, and so here are some statements that I listed as improvement as the action. Okay, firstly, I would like to direct your attention back to, I spent some time thinking over the news after reading it. I'm quite surprised at the improvement of this because the students today just don't think. Okay, in this information-invested society, we need to really discern what is right and what is wrong. Okay, we cannot just take in whatever is fed on us. Okay, so I'm really happy to see that more students are willing to think after they are presented with some material. Okay, and next one, I feel confident if asked to produce a news piece. I would say that none of the students will be confident if I just give them a piece of paper and say, hey, write a piece of news. Okay, it's just so hard for them. All right, but I'm so happy that after 2 tryouts, we asked them to create a newspaper. More students are willing to write something new, maybe. Okay, and then next one. Here, the two come together. I can easily think of a factual question. I can easily think of an open-ended question. Again, it goes back to thinking. All right, if they think, they can easily pose questions. All right, so I'm really happy to see these change. But of course, there are not so positive results, or there's somehow sliding of some percentage. And firstly, I feel confident reading English news. I guess the students are never confident. I don't know why. All right, even though after weeks of training, I think they are happy with this plan, they are still not so confident. And next one, I think reading English will help my general English ability. Well, basically most of them still think so. But I don't know, there is a slight decrease of this number. So this puzzles me a lot. Yeah. Okay, and here are 4 more questions that I added to the final questionnaire. All right, I think this semester's work can be reading, speaking, listening, writing. And of course, they love reading. They think reading English news helped them. Their English ability in reading has improved. But to my surprise, all right, they do not think that this activity can help their listening. My conclusion, well, my guess is that during the semester, actually, I do not do the talking often. All right, in this activity, I asked them to come up and say something. So what they heard were what they believed to be bad English. Of course, that's not right, but they don't think they're hearing good English. They believe that they've heard some English from their classmates who are full of grammatical errors, who are full of all right, and full of a lot of things that they don't think is helpful. So I'm still thinking ways of improving this part if I ever want to do this again. Yes. All right, and there is midterm evaluation. In the middle of the term, we kept this questionnaire and asked the students how they think of this activity so far, so I can make some more changes. All right, and for the difficulty level, most of the students think that it is moderate, it is okay. All right, only like 3 students think that is a little bit difficult. All right, and they are happy with the materials, all right, and the news after activity, and lots of brainstorming and noise in class. But they're still not so happy about too much time they spent on this activity. After all, this is not superficially not so related to their academic work. Okay, so they are a little bit reluctant to do this when the academic pressure is really hard. Okay, and they are also afraid not to able to find interesting news for the class. Okay, and most of them who feel fearful of this activity said that they don't want to speak in front of the class. Okay, and some students said that she wants more time to speak, more activities, more opportunities to speak, not just a couple of them. So in the later half of the activity, I sometimes, because I really don't have enough time, okay, I would do extended activity after that presentation. I would do some group discussion and presentation. Okay, and the students have given themselves in general 6.5 score, all right, in a scale of 1 to 10. That is surprising to me because I thought they deserved better than that. They were really hard. All right, for me, they deserve an 8 or a 9. Yeah, my students are really not so confident. Okay, so here are some students' works. Okay, for news authors, I've got some pictures here. All right, in news author, firstly, we will have anchors presenting news at the front. Okay, and this is some more traditional ways, just her talking. And then also the anchors can, yeah, it just won't come up. Yeah, the anchor can enlist the help of her friends. For example, this anchor has hired her friend to wave her poster by her, so it is more lively. Okay, and then what happened to my PowerPoint? Oh, yeah, it's all right. Okay, and then we have the news crew. Yeah. All right, so other than the anchors, what are the students doing? I don't know what happens here. All right, anyway, so, but this is just some demonstration of what I do, okay? If it don't show, I don't think that matters a lot. Okay. Yeah. So it is kind of fun, since they're very creative. All right, and then here is the video clip of the anchor and the crew work. Okay, so yeah, the anchor will work like this. And this is some entry music that I provided to the students as default. All right, they can choose to take it or not to take it, or they can prepare their own music. All right, and they can prepare their own props and entry and lighting, whatever.
Hello. Welcome to TNGS News. I'm Anchor. Headline of today is about Facebook. People all over the world have Facebook accounts. Though it is popular and convenient for communication, it has a big flaw: privacy settings. For instance, the founder of Facebook, Zuckerberg, is a victim of his own unsafe privacy settings. Hackers post his profile features on websites. Now, let's see the VCR.
Basically, anchors will do the job like this, and then have crew work. And this crew work is talking about the piece of news that happened the death of Kim Jong-il, okay, the North Korean dictator last year.
안녕하세요. 양준진입니다. 오늘은 우리 세상에다 기억을 적은 사람이다. 이 정말 연동사용 소재는 대진입니다.
Okay, so it has a lot of follow-up, but I guess we can stop here. All right, so they in this semester, in the two news Oscar, I've seen a lot of creativity, and I love them, and they love themselves. Okay, so this is a photo about the newspaper that I created. Okay, and this one is totally handwritten. All right, I didn't specifically ask them to make their newspaper computer processed, but along with all those cute illustrations, I think this is a successful one. And also, yeah, can we show that? Okay, so here's another one which has a very beautiful layout, and it's a little bit plain because it doesn't have color. If we got a chance to see another piece, another newspaper, it has colors. All right, but I love this group because all of the script is written by themselves. All right, they do not copy and paste from the internet or something. I can tell it from their numerous grammatical errors. But I just loved it. Okay. So, yeah, what about the student feedback? After all the semester's hard work, all right, I asked them to give me feedback, and I have 40-something students. That means I have 40-something feedback. So it's not possible for me to list them all here. But I have to guarantee you that all of them, so not all of them, I wish. All right, most of them are positive. Okay, so I got some examples here. Many of them think it is fun, think it is something new in a boring English classroom, and they think that their English ability has improved. Okay, of course, next slide. Of course, there are some negative feedbacks, and it doesn't really surprise me because all those problems remain. Okay? For example, it is not as easy. And secondly, they don't want to speak English, especially in front of the class. Okay? And they love the roles of illustrator and editor because in my case, these two students don't do much talking. And they don't like the roles of anchors or philosophers because these are the roles who tend to do most of the talking. Alright? But still, some of the students who are really into this activity tell me that their favorite roles are anchors and philosophers because they love to talk. So I guess it has something to do with students' personality. And as for me, I think that this activity is really tiring, but it is really fun. Okay? Alright, and my reflection is that a semester's work is not enough. I really need to extend it into 1 year and start with easier ones or simplified news before we step into real authentic news. Okay? And also the students need more instruction before they jump into this presentation. Okay, and lastly, this plan is doable. I had doubts in the beginning. Last year when we were in Canada, we were talking and it was like, can we really do this? Okay, but still we had this time pressure and the school, SFU, were asking us to present our action plan. It was like, okay, let's do it. But later I discovered that actually the students could take it and I could take it. Even though it's a little bit tiring, I got a lot of rewards. Okay, so I'm happy to do this again if I have another chance. So now I would like to direct the time back to Joyce, and she will present her school's results.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for teachers who think that this activity can be conducted in Tainan Girl High School, maybe you should hold the idea. Because before I start my presentation, let me introduce something about my students. I'm from左营Senior High School, which is in Kaohsiung City, and the PR rate in my school is about 75. Is that right? 80, okay. Just to make it higher. Okay, 80 something. And it's only a description of fact, nothing judgmental. I love my students, and they are great kids, except they are not that into study. Yeah. So let's see what happened in左营Senior High School. So, and since Carol, yeah. Since Carol has already covered all the procedures, I won't get into the details. I will just talk about some problems I had when I conduct these activities. Because students in my school, they are passive learners. They are not as active as students in Tainan Girls High School. So I have to do something to encourage them, to maybe force them to do something. So maybe I should start with the instruction part, because for me, I think the instruction part is very important. You know how much time I spent on this part? Any guess? 2 classes. In the beginning, I think I only need to take maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but it took me 2 classes, and both in Chinese and in English. You know, if I explain the instruction all in English, I don't think that my students can get the whole idea. So I try to explain the instruction part in Chinese, both English and both Chinese, but mostly in Chinese actually. And unlike students in Tainan High School, Carol, I was a group shift. In Carol's school, she didn't ask her students to hand in the group shift, but in my school, I did. I'm a demanding teacher. Okay, so I want to make sure every student do their job. So I asked my students, each week I give each group this kind of group sheet, the illustrator, and the other rows. And the whole group has to complete, to fill out the sheet. And the day before the presentation, they have to hand it to me, the day before presentation. I want to make sure every student read the whole story, read the whole news, and that they did their job well. They do preparation. You know, students, they would like to take the risk to say, maybe I won't be called, so I don't have to do the job. I don't want to. They have this kind of attitude. So I asked them to hand in the worksheet the day before their oral presentation. Okay, and I think that's the slightly difference. And so another one. Okay, about the weekly presentation. You know, sometimes when we ask our students to do a task, if you don't take that seriously, they won't take that seriously. Sometimes we just say, okay, this is your assignment, go home and finish it. Then you collect all the paper and you check them and give back to them. Actually, I don't think it's that so effective. So I try to make everything in details to let them know that I take everything seriously. So, for example, in the first 2 or 3 weeks, I just have my students just come to the classroom and they stand on the stage and report the news. But it makes me feel that they don't take that so seriously. So I made some change. Would you please play the oral presentation part? Okay, stop here. Stop here. Stop. Okay, did you see the atmosphere? The background music, the background PowerPoint? This kind of atmosphere makes my students feel like they are the real anchor. And with the videotaping, they took that more seriously. They think, wow, the teacher's going to videotape me, so I have to take this more seriously in case she put these videos on the YouTube or something. Okay, they don't want to ruin their reputation. So, see, so okay, please take care of it. Yeah. This little girl, she's very shy. In the beginning of the class, she dared not to talk on the stage, but this in the end of the semester. I also asked them to memorize the news. I'm a demanding teacher.
Hello everyone, welcome to T1HS News. I'm the anchor Aurora. President Ma Ying-jeou said his government would cautiously consider whether the nation should sign a peace agreement with China within the next decade. But as he said, such a move requires some domestic backing. Ma didn't make a mention of his previous remarks that called on Beijing to remove its missiles aimed at Taiwan as the precondition for negotiation on a cross-strait treaty. While highlighting continued reconciliation with Beijing, Ma said he would bolster Taiwan's defense against a possible Chinese attack. Thanks for watching T1HS News. See you next time.
Though there are still some grammatical errors or some errors in pronunciation, but she made a great improvement. And I think this is good for her. And okay, so this is the news about the 10 years after the September 11th. So before this activity, I don't know the boy has such kind of talent. Do you remember Gardner's multiple intelligence? See, through his painting, his illustration, I know that he did receive some information from the news. So I think this is another way of learning. So, next one. And about news release, okay, this comic strip is also drawn by a boy. I think he's very talented. And they also have some movie introduction. And the next one. Yeah, and some political news, something like that, and some illustration on the margin. So, Carol, next one, please. And as for the news article, best anchor, so let's check this one first. The girl picked up his own music and her style. I know it's to you it's more like talent show, like a best anchor competition. But you know, she really did the report, but in her own way. I think which is okay. Just get students to read and to do something. Okay, next one. And one important thing I learned from teachers in Canada is that, I think you can tell from Helen, the kids give students compliments. They can always find things to compliment on their students. I don't know why, but you know, the things I always say to my students, you are already 11th grader. How come you spell this wrong? How come? I don't get it. So I think after back from Canada, one thing I learned is that I have to keep praising my students to encourage them. So after the whole competition, I just, with some help with the software, I made some certificates. I think this is a great idea no matter what kind of activity you have in your classroom. With this certificate, students will take this more seriously, and they have something to put into their portfolio for application for your future college. So next one, Carol. And I think I'll just skip this one because of time. Next one. Next one. Okay, this one. One feedback from the post-action questionnaire. One thing interesting is this one. It's easy for me to give comments and reflection after reading the news. In the pre-action part, there are about 40% of my students, they think they are confident to give comments or reflection. But after the whole semester, only 10% miss, only 30%. I don't get why, so I checked with some students, and they told me that because they thought, in the beginning, they thought giving comments and the reflection to a news piece is something like, it's a sad story. I don't like that. We should put the bad guy into the jail. You know, they don't think. They just give some skin deep, I don't know, something not that deep. But after this kind of activity, they know they have to think more critically and more deeply. So that's why I think this text makes them feel more difficult to give reflections and comments. But I think which is good, give them to think, right? Okay, and the next part, next one. And then my students' feedback from my students, the activity is too much for me. I think I can do it better in Chinese. Okay, I think you guys all have this kind of students. For some slow learners, I do agree that they can use both Chinese and English. They can have their English version, then translate into Chinese, in case other classmates know what they are talking about. And sometimes okay, the second one is very interesting. Sometimes I have to read many pieces of news just to pick out one. So that's the purpose, right? To get them to read more, okay? And the third one, I don't really know how to write a summary, so I copy most of the sentence from the news. I think that's the beginning of picking out the topic sentence. From the sentence they choose. I know they know where the topic sentence are, which is okay for me. And being an illustrator is giving me the last one. Editing newspaper is very challenging task, but full of stress. And the students also added that finally he got something seriously that he can put into his portfolio. Yeah. So, and the next one, and the feedback from me, it is very important to give students clear instruction. Take the questions, for example. Do you still remember the factual question and the open-ended question? Actually, half of my students have no idea what they are about. What is the factual question and what is an open-ended question? So I took myself, for example. So I asked the class to ask a factual question about me. Is Joyce your math teacher? Is she a woman or something like that? That's T or first. That's a factual question. And as for the open-ended question, maybe something like asking people for their opinions. For example, how do you feel about Joyce when you first time saw her? Something like that. You have to give clear instructions, everything in details. I think that will help you students to get involved into the activity. That's very important. And the second one, it's important to show students what to do and how to do that. And the third one, creating an authentic situation is helpful to students' involvement with the background music, with the atmosphere. They can do better. And I think anything else? Okay. The fifth one, it is a patient-consuming task, but full of surprises. You know, most of the time, my classroom is like, when I conducted this activity, my classroom is in a chaos. But another thing I learned from teachers in Canada, it is okay to be chaotic in class. It's okay, so why not? Okay, so next one. Applicants since we don't have time. So one thing I have to mention, the application in teaching textbook. Maybe you can have individual roles to use in when you teach your textbook. For example, you can have one student to act as editor. In the end of the class, you can ask the student, please give me 5 words you learned in today's class. Or maybe just pick up one philosopher, ask him or her to give some feedback, some reflection about today's class. Not only on the textbook, maybe on the whole class. I remember one of the boys said about his reflection, I didn't listen at all. I'm not listening at all. That's her reflection. He knows he is not listening on that class that day. So, it's a way to have students know what they are doing in the class. Okay, Carol. This one. Okay, so back to Carol.
Okay, thank you. So now I have to do the final wrap up. What have teacher Karen just learned from the whole program? We mean the whole program, not the whole action plan. Alright, we started this whole program starting with the application last February. That was more than a year ago. And then we waited for the result, and then we signed up, and then we got trained. We went to Canada. We got a lot of fascinating classes, and then afterwards we have this action plan. And then Joyce and I kept working on it. Sometimes I go to her, sometimes she comes to me, and that was time-consuming, right? And then the whole semester, and then more than once, I asked myself, gee, how could this end? Yeah, it's like, I don't see the ending of this, like, alright, so, now it is the end, I guess, for our part, for today. Yeah, but this is, in retrospect, we really felt much rewarded, okay, and so here are some things that we learned. Alright, firstly, creating a friendly environment. Okay, so I don't think that in a classroom when teacher is simply talking, all right, and when students are dozing off is friendly enough. Okay, so this is some environment we really need to create, especially in our class so big. Okay, and next one, always be patient with students. Okay, and next one, have more potential to explore. Just trust them, and this is shared by me and Joyce. Okay, and then using language to learn rather than learning language. This is Joyce's favorite. Okay, and many times when we hear students say about English, they say that I learn English, I learn English. Of course they are learning English, but as we go into society, we know that this is not the purpose of English anymore. We use English to learn other things. We use English to read news. We use English to communicate. All right. So I guess this is the time that we start to change this idea of learning English only. We want to use it and use it a lot. Okay, and then next point, it's better to keep your students busy than to keep yourself busy. Many teachers go back home and they're just exhausted and don't want to do anything, just want to go to bed. That's because they have been working really hard in school and all the students are not working enough. Okay, so well, we've learned that it is okay to delegate some of the responsibility to our students. And next and last, go to as many workshops as you can. You will surprise yourself with how much you've learned. Okay, so I'm so happy to see many teachers here. Okay, and yeah, Joyce, do you have anything else to say? Yeah. All right. So she said that everybody's hungry. We are too. So thank you very much for your attention.
Those are all very happy, but I feel like I want to say something. I'm really, truly impressed with their presentation. I'm sure you all would agree with me. And Joyce and Carol, this is not the end. This is the beginning. And I'm going to invite you and many of you to submit an abstract to a conference we're hosting at NTNU in November. It's part of international conference called, it's IATEFL. It was a conference I went to last week or this week in Glasgow. And we're organizing this one. Special special interest group called Young Learners and Teenagers, which fits your students' age groups. You're welcome to submit abstract. The deadline is March 30th. Send in your abstract ASAP. We're going to extend the deadline. But send your abstract early. I would suggest that if you feel more comfortable working as a group like this, you can propose a colloquium, which means 3 people, 4 people together. If you can find a theme, then you can share a longer time slot, like what they're doing, then you have support. But if you feel comfortable presenting your own idea, presenting your own paper, or like this, Carol, this is scientific evidence. Don't say that because you don't have a control group, this is not science. This is evidence. Your students can do more factual questions, feel comfortable with asking open-ended questions. That's the evidence of their learning and growth. Okay, so you can perfectly present this at a conference. I can assure you that your audience at the conference, an international conference, will be impressed, just like we are. Okay, and that goes with many of you. This is the first I have heard of all the 21 people who went to SFU, and I'm sure we're going to have good ones in the afternoons as well. Okay, you want to say something? Okay.
I definitely would like to echo those comments. It was an incredible presentation, and I really do encourage you to submit that abstract because I think more teachers would love to see the work that you have done. It's fantastic. I noticed that you've created many opportunities for creativity and freedom for your students, and I think those are excellent examples of how you have created opportunities for your students to have ownership over their learning. And I'm just amazed at how well you did that. I also noticed that you're teaching many skills in a very integrated approach. So you're teaching more than just reading and writing and speaking. The fact that you're doing it all together and that students are saying that they have things to take to put into their portfolios shows that you're teaching them as people, not just as students. I'm wondering how that has changed the atmosphere in your classroom and perhaps impacted their attitude towards learning English. Thank you. Yes, starting from the last semester, I kept hearing, because I'm not a homeroom teacher of my class, all right, and I kept hearing my homeroom teacher of that class telling me that the students are working on weekly journals, right, in Taiwan. All right, they keep saying this. It's like English is fun, all right, and this new Oscar activity was fun. And some students told me that they found that their class was actually very creative. Okay, they found a lot of talents in their classrooms. All right, and I guess this atmosphere is still will keep growing. All right, as they have this spirit to explore more about their classmates. Yes.
I think the same thing happened in my class. I'm not a homeroom teacher either, but I have 36 students in my class, so I have 6 or 7 groups. So every week I post students' illustrations on the back of the classroom to have students have to make it more like a gallery. So maybe some students, they are not good at academic performance, but the other classmates, they will know, whoa, he's good at drawing, or maybe he's good at just showing or dancing or something. I think that helps them to know each other better.
Any other questions from the audience?
Okay. If you don't have questions, I'll ask Caroline if lunch is ready.